Hello, gorgeous Sagittarius. Here we are in October 2020. And oh, I'm so excited to sit down with my Sagittarius family and talk through this month. I saved you all for later in my discussions, and so now I have quite the perspective on the month and what's going on here with the collective energy and with all the other signs, and coming into this conversation with you all. The thing with this month is that, this is always true, right? And many of the themes that I talk about in any given reading they tend to be things you can work with at any point in time. But this is one of those times when perception is really fluid, and it's very easy to morph and be pulled in different directions with how you're seeing your story, how you're seeing yourself, and to get really influenced by a lot coming at you. And that's one of the things to just keep in mind about October. It's not that October is malicious or terrifying or scary. It's non-linear. The time is non-linear. Stories, experience of time, non-linear. And there's a lot of porousness and a lot of exchange of energy and a lot of it moving very fast. Now, once you know that, right, once you have that information, you can work with it much more easily, I think, and you can have actually a really fun, creative time to connect and play and explore in October, and to connect more deeply with your path and with your honesty and your authenticity and who you really are. And Sagittarius, this is so interesting. One of the things that is associated with Sagittarian energy, and it is true that you have this in your bones, is optimism. But a lot of times optimism is kind of sugar-coated or simplified or candied up or even vilified, right? As either naive or like a Pollyanna state or something like that. But when you really think about the word optimism and you think about things like optimization, we're talking about taking what you have, right, and making the most of it. Taking whatever you have at your disposal, your tools, your time, your energy, your talents, your gifts, who you are, whatever you have around you, even if it's just a roll of duct tape, right, and making the most out of it. And this is honestly something that Sages do so well. Right? This is just like innate in you. And what a great thing. And it's so funny because the word optimism came to mind for October, for Sagittarians specifically. And that this is a month to get really creative with what you have at your fingertips. You're going to have all these tools at your fingertips. And some of them you may not have even looked at twice before, because it's so obvious. It's just sitting right there. This month, take a look around and notice what you have, because there's some optimization that is going on with the things around you. And this month, if you are willing to lean more into that innate optimism that you have within you, the more you have possibilities of creating. So there's a lot going on. Just the movement of the sun in October is really interesting for Sagittarius, because we start off in Libra, which is very flowing with you, very conversational, playful. Then we start having energy moving into Scorpio. And that's when we start getting into the spiritual, hidden preparation time for Sagittarius season. And so by the time we get to the end of the month, you're going to be feeling a little bit more of that rest, reset, self-understanding, connecting in, listening in, kind of going into more of a spiritual space. So you may find through the course of this month that you start off maybe with a little more external energy, and then you go a little bit more internal throughout the month. A few other things that are happening. We're in the heart of Mars retrograde in Aries. And, fellow fire sign Aries, all of October. And we're going to be doing some deep diving with that over on Patreon. Oh, Justice came out and two cards fell, and I love what I'm seeing. Hierophant and 10 of Cups. Wow. Okay, you have the red-robed officials of truth and justice showing up. All right. All right. Like it. This month, so we're in the heart of Mars retrograde, healing our inner masculine, healing how it is we feel we have to armor up, always be in battle, reconnecting deeper. We have a Mercury retrograde moving through Scorpio and Libra, and we have 2 full moons this month. First full moon is in Aries, and the second full moon on Halloween is in Taurus, in your 6th house of how you connect to your physical. So there's some powerful transits going on, and if you are on my Patreon, we go through these week by week as they're happening, so you know how to work with them a little bit more in detail. 2 more cards wanted to come out. King of Swords and the Sun. Okay. So, kind of just gone over all the main notes for October and some things to keep in mind. And like I said, that message of optimism for you and optimizing, using what you have available to you and expanding it, using all that creative juice. Okay, so here's what's interesting. Like I said, started right off this reading with, you look at these 2 figures, they are wearing these red robes, they are in official positions, right? They are in positions that hand out verdicts about, your well-being. And, of course, in the traditional past century interpretation, this is like the power structure, like the hierarchy, right? Who's in charge? These are cards that also speak to integrity, right? And to a sense of justice and to clarity and authenticity to self. And this is a big theme in October as well. Justice and the Hierophant, they don't want the sugar-coated who you think you need to be, who you think you need to act out in the world, right? They want you to come back to a place of deep truth, a deep inner knowing, and of deep self-understanding. The Hierophant speaks to as well that we are all inheritors of spiritual knowledge and connection to source, and there's not just one figurehead, right, that determines that place in the process, but that we are actually all able to access that beauty. Now, what I see with Justice and Hierophant is the road ahead, right? Like, you already know what it is you want to build, you want to create, you want to play with, you want to have fun with. You already know. I guarantee you, beginning of October, if I asked you to sit down right now and write a page, just free write a page, you would be able to write out for me the things you truly want, the things that you have with you that you already appreciate and that you want to expand. Your bigger picture, your bigger path. There isn't really a question here about that, right? So we don't have to waste our time with that. And once again, it's coming back to that optimization. You already know. So take what you already know and go with it, right? Because look, the message is so simple for Sagittarius, and I love it. 10 of Cups is in the middle of this conversation, which affects this whole conversation. It affects what Justice and Hierophant means. It affects what that kind of truth bringing means. But 10 of Cups is about happiness, and it's about joy. It's about being allowed to pursue these beautiful things. And I think there's often taught this false dichotomy that, there's challenges in the world, and regardless of what's going on politically or internationally or in your own personal life, right? There are just times when there's heaviness and loss and grief and confusion and these big questions. That's a part of life for sure. And there's also the part of life that is about the joy and the creative and the playfulness. And sometimes there's a strange thing that we're taught just culturally on a bigger level, that if we're in a time of grief and uncertainty and complexity and what have you, then we're not allowed to also explore our joy. Like, we have to choose which one we're going to be in. I don't find that that's always the case. And so the message that's coming through for me is like, you're allowed to explore this joyful space, even with questions in your mind, even with complexities around us. You are allowed to explore the nooks and crannies of yourself that are beautiful and connective. And yes, this is about deepening relationships. This is about deepening into the things that just feed your soul. This is about just that luminous glow that Sages have when they let themselves be who they are. And I mean, it's so funny. We have Justice Hierophant, we have King of Swords too, which is loosely associated with justice as well. These two figures are very closely tied. They both speak to honesty. Simple, clear-cut truth. It's not about the buts in life, right? I could do this, but. I could be this, but. I want to be happy, but, right? It's like these two have no interest in that. So there's kind of this like strong medicine, which Sages, you love your honesty, so this shouldn't be a problem for you. I keep having this hair in my eye that's tickling me. This is really honest energy. And it doesn't want you to go to like all these convoluted places that are stripping you of that, right? And the fact that the sun wanted to come out. Speaking of tapping into your childlike joy and playfulness and curiosity and fun, here is the sun. Now it's interesting, Sages, because admittedly, south node of the moon is going through your sign, right? And we're working with that for a while. We have over a year left of that. And Mars is retrograde in the 5th house of heart, creativity, playfulness for you all in Aries. And those transits, you may look at those and think, oh, I'm supposed to like go to some dark place and do all of my learning from the shadow side. Now, you can definitely, feel feelings and tap into your shadow side and give love to your shadow side. That's always a great practice, right? But the reading here for October and for the work that you're being asked to focus on and the message that wants to come up for you is that optimism thing, right? It is finding, and I'm getting full body shivers with this, like, wow, this message is just so simple and yet so needed, like even as I'm feeling, I'm like, whoa. It's important to let yourself learn via joy. It's important to let yourself play and imagine and feel and just let yourself tap into that playful, joyful, bright side of yourself. I know that and some of you maybe have been having fun with that. I'm sure some of you Sages out there have honestly not you've barely skipped a beat as far as how you shine in the world. You've been very good at that. And I think there are other Sages that have really felt like they've disconnected a little bit from that innate joy, right? And that they feel a little bit not like it's gone, but just that they haven't been plugging into that socket for a little while. And I think this month is just this huge invitation for you to go all the way in to that honest optimism. What is that book? Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, which I'm not, I've had dialogues around this, that it's good to listen to your inner voice. But the point being that in that book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, which is like a classic from 20, 30 years ago, Susan Jeffers talks about how being optimistic or thinking about possibilities and the things that are going right in the world is actually the more realistic viewpoint, especially just in your day-to-day. You look around at your life and the things that are functioning, right? And that the pessimism, the one that says everything's going to fall apart every time, and that's the law of the universe, is a lot less connected to what's going on, right? And that's not to de-emphasize that we have to have empathy for pain, the other's pain, and we have to look out for each other, and it's okay to experience pessimistic thoughts, sadness, depression, all of that. These are a part of our lives. But I think my point being that, optimism can be a really, really beautiful tool at this time. It can be a tool that helps us move forward. And those little drops of sunshine that any of us create at this time can fuel somebody that you run across. It can fuel your own heart. it fuels your community, and it can fuel your actions in the world, right? And so it's not something to just put to the side and say, oh, well, that's childish. That childlike joy and optimism is the very thing that brings truth, integrity, and hope to what is next, right? That's what visionary energy is. So that's just the affirmation that I have. And I do have affirmations for you for October, my Sagittariuses. This is like making me really emotional, actually. I almost want to cry. So I'm trying to keep it together. Okay. Here we go. I have all the tools I need to create beauty in each day. I am surrounded by possibilities and resources. I am allowed to be joyful, even in the midst of intensity. I am free to be fully myself. I think that one, I am allowed to be joyful, even in the midst of intensity, is such a powerful life practice. It's one that I think I need to remind myself of all the time. So I love you guys. I hope this was just a conversation that can help you feel like you're allowed to be yourself at this time, and that it's a great thing. It's a great thing for you to bring that heart to the table. And sometimes it's just good to hear that, in the midst of everything else. So like I said, we're diving even deeper on Patreon. We're going through all the Mars retrograde. We're definitely going to be doing some work with Mercury retrograde as well in October. So if you are looking for extra support, an extra place to just come down and relax, listen to me chat, see what other people are going through. It's an amazing little community over there. Highly recommend you come join me. You can also find me on my website and on Instagram at Sarah Verba. I'll leave all those links and info in the description box. And you can find PinkLune's gorgeous jewelry on her website. So I'll leave all of those links below. I love you, Sagittarians, so much. And I just hope you have a beautiful October. And November is right around the corner for Sagittarius season. And I'm so excited to keep going on this journey with you. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I will see you very soon.